Hello, today I'm going to be doing the Ascendant Dragon Monk build. This build is my attempt to optimize the Ascendant Dragon to the peak of my ability. And the first thing I want to say is the Ascendant Dragon is definitely a wisdom-based build, which means we're going to be doing a dip into either the Cleric or the Druid. But before that, let's go ahead and take a look at our race and our stats. I'm going to be going with the Half-Elf race with Pasha's variant so we can change that Charisma over to Wisdom. We are mainly here for the bonus stats that come with it, but you also get things like extra skills, which can go a long way to just making your character feel better. I would use those skills to make us a stealthy scout, for example, making sure we get perception, making sure we get stealth. That way we can go ahead of the team, keep unseen, and see everything we need to see and report back. As for our stats, we're gonna have 16 in dexterity, 16 in constitution, and 17 in wisdom, then dump the rest. So we need to take a 1-level dip in either cleric or druid. Now druid gives us shillelagh and magic stone, so those are both really good martial based wisdom attacks that can make it so we can fight up close or far away as needed. We also get a very powerful spell in entangle that's probably better than any cleric spell can bring, and that entangle actually has a lot of synergy with our Ascendant Dragon breath weapon attacks because it gives them disadvantage on their dexterity saves. So there's some synergy there. On the cleric side, we do not get as powerful cantrips or first level spells, though I will say that Bane actually synergizes with our aspect of the worm quite nicely at Monk 11. It'll be our 12th level because we're doing a 1-level dip. But clerics do get a feature, so if you have a very powerful first level feature, like say Peace Domain Cleric for example, it might be worth taking. Now you might be thinking, why not go Nature Cleric and pick up Shillelagh there, and you can kind of get the best of both worlds. Well, it's not really the best of both worlds, because the cleric is using their feature to get Shillelagh where druids just kind of get it, and then we are not getting that powerful cleric feature, and we're not getting the ranged cantrip, and we're not getting the more powerful first level spells. So my thinking is, in this case, I think druid is the correct answer, and it's the one I am choosing. We're picking up entangle, shillelagh, and magic stone. Entangle is just a really crazy good first level spell, and it remains good throughout your whole career. Entangle never stops being good. If you hit 1 to 3 enemies, you're probably going to get your value out of it, and of course the more the merrier. Shillelagh keeps us relevant in melee combat and allows us to actually do some damage when we're trying to go for a stunning strike, for example. But because we've gone wisdom, it does mean that our martial arts melee attack is going to be inferior compared to our dex-based monk counterparts, but that is well worth it for everything else we get. Now some nuance with this character is, when do you want to use magic stone? Because magic stone is definitely a decrease in our damage output, but it does allow us to protect our concentration, and that's going to be some really important skill-based decision making that comes with this character. Is it time to protect our concentration, or is it time to get in there, mix it up, try and go for these big stuns and risk ourselves to do it? That'll be the fun of this character, is knowing how to balance your risk and reward. At level 2, we're picking up Monk 1. We're going to have 16 AC, which was matched by the Druid, but now we can do it naked. And then we get a subpar bonus action attack, so overall not our best level. At level 3, we get Monk 2. We're going to get our extra movement speed here, which is just nice quality of life, especially if we're not going in deep and we're throwing our rocks from far away. We can still use it to position quite well. At level 4, we're going Monk 3, and we're going to pick up the Ascendant Dragon subclass. We get a couple of AOE blasts per day, and as I said, they do synergize with Entangle, so if you can entangle 3 people and then start AOE blasting them, there's a good chance you're going to be doing quite a bit of damage. One thing I will say is, don't go out of your way to put yourself in a bad position to get this cone off if we're concentrating on something very important. So again, this is all about balance. Know when to risk your concentration and know when not to. At Monk 4, level 5, we pick up Fey Touched. This gives us Silvery Barbs, which synergizes with Entangle and Stunning Strikes and Aspect of the Worm. It just synergizes with a lot of things that we're doing. And it also gives us Misty Step to just kind of escape situations if we get ourselves too deep in a situation or we need to be able to disengage for free. Misty Step is good. Up to this point, our main tactic has been to entangle as many people as we can, protect our concentration, and get in damage where we can. Overall, we're not trying to be too aggressive here, and we're waiting for opportunities to get aggressive. It's a more passive playstyle up to this point. This is not the type of monk you can be mindless with, because we are quite squishy and we do not have ways to escape opportunity attacks, so we can't be reckless with this particular monk. Just remember that sometimes it's going to be okay to just entangle and start throwing rocks while you're out of the way of the combat. That's okay. Let entangle do the work for you, not your HP. At level 5, we're picking up Stunning Strike, and we have great Stunning Strikes. We have an 18 wisdom at this point and Silvery Barbs to back them up. Our tactics do change a bit at this point because our stuns are so good, and if there is one enemy who really needs to be put down, we can burn a ton of resources trying to put them down. We can burn 3 stuns and a Silvery Barbs all just to make sure we get that stun off to lock that character down, because that is our win condition. And you really have to compare. You have the Entangle Strength save, or you have 3 Stunning Strike saves, potentially 3 Stunning Strike saves and a reroll. You kind of have to balance those against against each other, because sometimes Entangle will still be stronger, even in the situation that you're facing one really powerful creature. And even at this level, if you are facing multiple creatures, again, focus on Entangle and protecting yourself. At Monk 6, our level 7, we now get Step of the Wind, we can fly. We now have anti-air cannons on lock. We can launch ourselves up in the air, stunning strike a creature, they fall, we slow fall down. It's really resource heavy, but we do have that in our back pocket now. Skipping over to Monk 8, our level 9, we're going to pick up more Wisdom, and then skipping to Monk 11, our level 12, we're going to get Aspect of the Worm. So our tactics change again once we hit Monk 11, our level 12, because we get Aspect of the Worm. Now, Aspect of the Worm gives us a fear-based bonus action attack, and if we're going to have a combat that's going longer than 4 turns, we're probably going to want to turn this on. And this is kind of a more melee setup, and that's something that's nice about this build, is we can kind of go in and out of melee. So if we're using Aspect of the Worm, we're probably not going to be wanting to use Entangle, because we won't be able to protect our concentration, and vice versa. But what Aspect of the Worm does really nicely is it allows us, for a pretty cheap cost over a long combat, to continually debuff people, and that debuff may last for multiple turns. So we can spread this debuff around and around, and we keep it spreading it around. It also synergizes with Silvery Barbs. We can combine it with Stunning Strike, so we can attempt a bonus action to attempt to fear someone. And that's what's really nice about Aspect of the Worm, is that our bonus action was mediocre to begin with, because we haven't invested heavily in Dex, so our Unarmored Strike isn't that great. So using a Wisdom-based bonus action to fear people is likely going to be better. Efficient with Ki, can be really, really game-changing in combat, so can be powerful altogether. And I hope I'm getting across that there are different styles of play all built into this same build. You have a very full commitment stunner who just goes in there and burns resources to get the stun off. You have kind of an area control entangler who protects their concentration by staying afar and being a little bit of an archer with magic stone. Then you kind of have this more frontliner based tank who's spreading fear around and then just attacking with their action is shillelagh bonus action, try and fear someone. And if they're capable of spreading that fear around, that's going to protect them, because everyone's going to be attacking them at disadvantage. They still need to be safe because they're not the most tanky, they're pretty squishy, but that's still an option. And reading the combat and choosing the playstyle that's right for it is what's really rewarding. On top of that, you can pepper in these breath weapon attacks or this flying movement that isn't always there, so you can kind of really change what you're doing. It's a wide variety of flavor, and I think that's something this build really shines with. Skipping again, whenever I'm skipping, it's just because it's a bunch of monk things, you know, nothing really changes about our tactics. But skipping all the way over to level 17, our AOE blasts get quite a bit better here. It's still chip damage, especially at 17th level 4d10 is chip damage, but we can do that chip damage pretty consistently. We can do it like 6 times per long rest, and as so long as we're hitting 4 or 5 enemies, that's good damage, and we just keep peppering it in to each of our attacks throughout our turns. This is to combine with our Aspect of the Worm Fear, not to replace it. And if we have enemies who are immune to fear, which will happen at these high levels, then Stunning Strikes are what we mix into them. And even at this level, Entangle still is good. Like, Entangle is just an amazing spell. And finally, at level 18, I really feel like for monks, level 18 is their capstone. It's where we get Empty Body. We basically can do 4 key point greater invisibility, concentrationless. So now we can do things like go directly into melee combat with Aspect of the Worm going on, spreading fear. Our position can just be so much more frontlined, and we're still protected. We can turn on Entangle, and we're protected, and we can still be a frontliner. At level 18, we're really enabled to do the frontline things that we wish we could do the whole career, but now we can. And that is my best Ascendant Dragon build. Do you guys feel you can do better? Let me know in the comments down below. But other than that, I hope you have yourselves a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.